Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive with us. And today we're going deep into the world of coffee, tea, cocoa, and spices distribution managers.
Sounds delicious, right?
Definitely.
Hmm.
But more than that, we're going to, you know, uncover what this job actually involves.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just making sure the supermarket shelves are stocked, right?
Right. We actually have some great sources for this deep dive that are going to give us some, well, I think, some pretty surprising insights into this career path.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's a role that's becoming increasingly vital in today's world.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone loves their coffee and tea and
Exactly. And with the growing global demand, well, it's essential to have skilled professionals who can keep those supply chains running smoothly.
And that's what these distribution managers, they're the ones who are really making that happen behind the scenes.
Yeah, our sources initially described the role as planning and organizing distribution, which sounds, I don't know, maybe a bit dry.
Yeah, a little bit when you put it that way. But
Yeah. But it's so much more dynamic than it might initially seem. I mean, imagine the scale of what they're dealing with, right? We're talking about ensuring a constant flow of your morning coffee, your afternoon tea, even that sprinkle of cinnamon on your latte.
that's a great point because it's not just about logistics, it's also about understanding those global market trends.
Precisely. One of our sources even dives into the critical importance of forecasting in this role. They gave an example. Let me see if I can recall it correctly. Oh, yes. They said that if a distribution manager misjudges the demand for, say, pumpkin spice lattes when fall rolls around, it could lead to, well, either a surplus of ingredients going to waste or not enough to meet the demand.
And that impacts everyone, right?
Hmm.
From the farmers to the consumers.
Absolutely. The sources actually highlighted a case study from 2023 where a major tea shortage occurred because distributors didn't accurately predict the impact of, get this, a sudden weather event on crop yields.
Wow, so you wouldn't think a little rain could cause such a ripple effect, but
Yeah. Exactly. It just goes to show how much these professionals need to be tuned in to every step of the process.
it's like they have to have a crystal ball to see these things
In
coming.
a way, yeah. And they need to be ready to adjust and adapt because the market is constantly changing.
It sounds like it takes a special kind of person to handle that pressure.
You're telling me. But when it works, it's like a perfectly choreographed dance, you know? From those coffee farms in Colombia all the way to your local barista, it's fascinating.
I'm already more interested in my coffee, just knowing all
Me
this.
too, and we're just getting started. And it's not just about the beans, right? We're talking about tea leaves, spices, all sorts of things.
Well, absolutely. And it's not just getting them from point A to point B anymore either.
Right. Consumers are way more aware these days.
Exactly. They want to know where their products are coming from, how they're being produced,
Sustainability, ethical sourcing, those are huge factors now.
which adds a whole other layer of complexity to the whole thing.
For sure. And
Yeah.
that's where technology comes in, I think.
Yeah, because trying to manage this global network of coffee beans sailing across oceans and tea leaves being harvested, and
It's mind-boggling when you think about it. I mean, how do they keep track of everything?
that's what I want to know. It must be like some kind of high-tech operation.
It really is. One of the sources actually talked about these systems. What were they called? Oh, yeah, warehouse management systems, or WMS for short.
Okay, I've heard of those, but
They're like the brains of the operation, basically.
so like instead of someone with a clipboard, it's all computerized.
Pretty much. These systems, they track everything in real time, inventory, storage, even predict potential problems before they happen.
It's like having a crystal ball for your warehouse.
Exactly. And it frees up the distribution manager to focus on, the bigger picture stuff.
So it's not just about being a logistics whiz then,
Oh, you definitely need those skills, but the sources really emphasize the importance of things like market trends, negotiation, communication.
because you're dealing with so many different people,
Oh, yeah.
right?
All the time. Suppliers, internal teams, sometimes even directly with customers.
Wow, so it's a very people-oriented role too.
Absolutely. One source even called it the art and science of distribution. The science being the logistics and all that. But the art is in those relationships, understanding the cultural nuances of different markets.
That makes sense because coffee in Italy is different from coffee in, say, Vietnam.
Exactly. And a good distribution manager understands those differences. They can speak the language, so to speak.
That's fascinating. So where does someone even begin if they're interested in this career path? It sounds like it requires such a diverse skill set.
Well, the good news is a lot of these skills can be developed over time.
Okay, so you don't have to be born with a coffee bean in your hand.
Right. Many people start with entry-level positions like a distribution assistant or
To
coordinator.
work their way up,
Exactly. Get that hands-on experience, learn the ropes.
literally see how those products move from the warehouse to the trucks.
Precisely. And as you gain experience, you can move into roles with more responsibility, eventually leading to that distribution manager position.
So there's a clear path for growth within this industry.
There definitely can be, but the sources were pretty upfront about the competition being fierce, especially at the higher levels.
Yeah, I imagine with a job this dynamic, and let's face it, important, there are going to be a lot of people vying for those top spots.
Oh, absolutely. But the sources also offered some good advice for, standing out from the crowd, particularly during interviews.
Okay, like what kind of advice?
Well, they actually gave some sample interview questions, which I thought was pretty cool.
Ooh, I love a good interview question. Give us one, give us one.
All right, let's see. Here's one. How do you ensure the quality of the products you distribute?
Hmm, simple but effective.
Right. It gets straight to the heart of the job.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about moving boxes around, it's about making sure people are getting a quality product.
Exactly. And that's where your passion for the industry really comes through. They're not just looking for textbook answers.
They want to see that you actually care about coffee or tea or whatever it is you're distributing.
Exactly. They want to see that spark, that understanding of what makes a good cup of coffee, for example. Yeah, it's about like connecting those dots between, your skills on paper and that tangible impact on the product.
So it's not enough to just say you're detail-oriented. You have to show how that actually translates into, like, a consumer getting a perfect cup of coffee.
Exactly. And anyone can, memorize facts about supply chains and stuff,
Yeah.
but it's that genuine passion that's what really makes a candidate stand out.
That's such good advice for anyone listening who might be, thinking about a career in this field. And speaking of things to think about, our sources really emphasized how this industry is constantly changing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just think about how much consumer tastes have changed, even in the last few years.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought we'd all be drinking matcha lattes a few years ago?
Yeah.
And that's just one example.
Right. And then there's new technology, new ways of doing things.
And all that impacts a distribution manager's job.
Right. Absolutely. They have to be adaptable, always learning, ready to adjust.
It really makes you realize this role is a lot more dynamic than it might seem at first glance.
It definitely is.
Well, there you have it. We've journeyed from, like, those Colombian coffee farms to high-tech warehouses, all in the span of what, like 45 minutes?
Time flies when you're talking about coffee, tea, and spices, right?
It really does. And on that note, we're going to wrap things up for today. But for all of you listening, I want to leave you with something to ponder. Think about those emerging trends we talked about,
Yeah.
right? What do you think is going to be the next big thing to shake up the world of distribution? Maybe it's a surge in demand for a certain spice, or maybe it's a new sustainable packaging solution, or who knows? Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your predictions.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, if you want to delve even deeper into this fascinating world, be sure to check out the resources we've linked in the show notes. Until next time, happy exploring.